Hi everyone, it's Mimi. Welcome back to my channel. I was asked to do a tutorial on my DIY boxes that I use to house the projects that I create and just give a good presentation to some of the gifts that I give. If you guys are not familiar, my bestie, Armeen. Hi, Armeen. She just posted a video last night about some Happy Mail that I sent her for her birthday. And in that video, a couple of my items were showcased in boxes with a clear acetate top. It kind of looks like this. They're boxes of all different sizes. I'm actually going to show you how to create a box any size that you need, and hopefully you guys can use that to create your own boxes. It is actually a reinforced box. I'm going to go over the supplies that you need. The only thing I don't have in front of me is a piece of acetate. I do like to use the heavy duty one. I actually have a stash of them from a previous job that I had, and I don't know what the millimeter of it is, but it's pretty thick. It's used for when you create reports through a binding machine. I hope that makes sense, but it's pretty thick. I like those just because the lid stays really intact and it doesn't get smushed, so to speak, in transit. But I will show you how to create that. I believe you can use any type of acetate, so if you want to give this a try, go ahead and try that. And then otherwise, I would search on like Amazon for just a thicker acetate. So you will need a scoreboard. You will need some double-sided tape, or you can use wet glue, whatever your preference is. I'm going to be using a couple of bone folders, a pair of scissors, and of course you are going to need some cardstock. This actually is a lot lighter weight than I like to use, but this is what I had on hand, so I'm gonna go ahead and use that. I normally like to use about 100 or 110 pounds when it comes to cardstock, just because it makes the box that much sturdier. So let me go ahead and clear this stuff out. I will first show you how to get measurements on any type of box that you want to create. Now, the one I'm going to be demonstrating today will be a 6x6 box with a 1-inch height or depth, but with this you can create any size that you need. Okay, so I just have a little notepad and I'm going to illustrate to you how to create your own measurements. And hopefully this makes sense to you guys and that it's easy to follow. If you guys have any questions, you guys know that you can always leave a comment down below and I will be sure to answer you as soon as I possibly can. So you first want to know what size box you want. The height, the width, as well as the depth. And we're gonna draw this in 2-dimensional. So let's say I want a rectangular box. So I will just draw out a rectangle. So let's say, for example, I want my box to be a 5x7 box. So I want the width to be 5 inches. And I want the height to be 7 inches. Now I want the depth to be 1 inch. So that's how deep the box is going to be. So I will create another rectangle next to the first one. And what that represents is one of the heights of the box. And I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. Because you guys know to create a box, you need 4 sides. So that's what that will look like. And I know that each one of these is 1 inches. So of course this one is 1 inch. Now for a reinforced box, you need to double that. So I will draw another rectangle on all 4 sides. And I really am hoping this is not confusing. My drawing is not the best. So that means each one of these represents 1 inches. So total of 2 inches. So it's 2 inches here and 2 inches here, as well as 2 inches here and 2 inches here. So to get the final measurement of the piece of cardstock you need to cut, I will take this measurement, which is the 5 inches, and then add the 2 inches, and then add the other 2 inches. Make sure whatever you do for one side, you have to do for the other side. So add all these up, and that equals 9 inches. So that is my first measurement. I'm going to do the same for the 7 inches. So I have 7 inches, and then of course 2 inches, and then the top 2 inches. And that is 11 inches. So that tells me that I need to cut a piece of cardstock at 9 inches by 11 inches. And like I said, you can substitute any of these dimensions for different numbers as long as you have the consistent same all the way around. All 4 of these or 8 of these rectangles will be the exact same measurement. Now this is just for the box bottom. So in our case of the 6x6 box, so again, I will create a square this time because it's a square box. So this is 6 inches and this is 6 inches. I have my depth at 1 inches, so I need 2 of those, and then another 1 inch and another 1 inch. And I'm going to do the same exact thing for the top and the bottom. So I only actually have to do this measurement once because it's going to be squared. So I have the 6 plus the 2 and the 2, which is 10 inches. So to create a box that's 6x6, we will need a piece of cardstock cut at 10 inches by 10 inches. So that is going to be your method of getting whatever size box that you need to create. So let's go ahead and create this 6x6 box, and I will show you how easy it is to put together. So grab your scoreboard. If you do not have a scoreboard, you can always use some type of straight edge like a ruler and a bone folder. You can actually even use the end of a paper clip if you don't have a bone folder handy. So this is cut to 10 inches by 10 inches because we are making a 6x6 box. Remember, the sides or the depth is 1 inch, but we need 2 of those. So I'm first going to score at 1 inch. And then I'm going to score again 1 inch away from that, which is at 2. Now, the whole surface of the size of the box is 6 inches. So I will move over 6 and score at 8. And then at 9. So there's that 1 inch, the 1 inch, the 6 inches, and then the 1 inch and 1 inch. Now go ahead and rotate your cardstock, and now we're gonna go ahead and score them exactly just like we did. So again, at 1 inch, And at 2 inches, we need to move over 6 and score at 8 and 9. And I hope you guys can see the score lines clearly. You basically will need 4 boxes on each corner. And then this is your 6 by 6 box. So that's all the scoring we need to do. Now I'm gonna go ahead and fold and burnish on all the score lines. So this is what you should have. I have created a diagram to make it easy for you guys to see. So here is what the score lines are, as well as these shaded areas are where we're going to cut away. So I'm gonna do this really slowly so you guys don't get confused. It is a little bit confusing, but once you do it once, you'll get the hang of it. So I like to flip it over on the back because I can see the raised lines from the score lines. So you are just going to take one side and I'm going to notch in at an angle to that longest flap in the center. So 2 squares over, and then that long rectangle. And in the same rectangle, I'm going to notch just like that. Then you want to cut up that second rectangle. So now we have cut up to the second score line. So now this part is loose. Then we are going to cut these 2 outer squares away. And I like to cut inside of those score lines. It just makes it easier to assemble. And then we are going to cut this square away. So that part is just cut away. We are going to notch in to this little square flap, as well as this square flap. So I hope you guys are with me so far. We are now going to rotate it clockwise, just one turn. And we are going to repeat that same thing. So we are always going to work on the right side. First, we are going to notch in, now removing that whole piece. And then again, we are going to notch in, cut up to the second score line, leaving this flap free. We are going to cut up these 2, remove this bottom piece like that, and we are going to notch in this small flap. So now we have 2 sides done. Now rotate it again clockwise, and we are going to repeat that 2 more times. Okay, so this is what you should be left with. Go ahead and take a screenshot so you guys can see. I'll also put this back here so you guys can see the areas that you need to cut away. And this will be the same for no matter what size box that you're creating. So hopefully you guys are with me still. Now we are going to add our adhesive. First, go ahead and flip this around, and we are going to add adhesive to all of these 4 tabs. And then I always like to burnish my tape so that the backing comes off really easily. Now go ahead and flip it onto its back. And now we are going to put adhesive on only the top flap. Now, if you are using narrower tape like I am, this is only a 1/4 inch. This is all I had on hand. I'm going to concentrate my tape at the top edge of this flap, like that. And then I like to put one at the bottom right above that first score line. Just like that. And do that for all 4 of these long rectangular flaps. So that is all your adhesive on there. I'm going to go ahead and burnish this down really quickly. So let's start assembling. What I first like to do is just take off all the release paper, or you can do it one by one. I like to save steps and kind of do stuff in assembly line. So with that tape exposed, flip it over, and we are going to assemble this just like you would any box. So press that down and just work your way around. And then now you are left with this. I like to fold these out just because it makes it easier for me to get to the adhesive. So I'm going to remove all the backing from the adhesive. So now we have all the backing exposed, and we are just going to fold these flaps in, creating a reinforced box. This makes the walls of the box really sturdy, especially when you use 100 or 110 pound cardstock. So that is the bottom of the box. Because the bottom has one less layer of cardstock, I do like to take chipboard and cut it slightly smaller than the perimeter of my box. So in this case, this is 6 by 6. So I normally will cut it a little bit over 5 3/4 squared. And then I put a piece of decorative scrapbook paper on top, and then I place that on the inside just to make it extra sturdy. Totally optional, you don't have to do that, but if you guys know me, I go a little extra. Oh, and after you adhere these down, I would go ahead and burnish them so you don't have any lifting of the adhesive. So that is how you construct the bottom of the box, and I will be right back and share with you guys how to create the lid. It is super easy, and unless you want to decorate the box, you will be all finished. So let's move on to creating the lid. Now for the lid, we have to create measurements for it as well, and this is really easy. So for our example that we're doing today, again, I'll create a box that is 6 by 6, and because our depth is 1 inch, I'll create my 4 rectangles again, and these will all be 1 inches. We don't have to double them up because we're not reinforcing the lid. So we will need a piece cut at 6, and then we're going to add the 1 inch from each side. So it'll be 8 inches. So because this is a square box, we will need a piece of acetate or clear plastic cut at 8 by 8. Again, from the example that I showed you in the very beginning, if we had a box that we were creating that was 5 by 7 with the 1 inch depth, do the same exact thing. So this is 1 inch and this is 1 inch. So we will need one that is 5, and then we are going to add the 1 inch on the left and the 1 inch on the right. So that will be 7 inches. And then we take that measurement, which is 7 inches, and then the top and the bottom flaps, and that's 9. So for a 5 by 7 box, you will need to cut a piece of acetate that is 7 by 9 inches. So here is the acetate that I like to use. I don't know if you guys can hear how hefty it is. It is pretty thick. Hope you guys can see that. I apologize for the noise outside. So let's go ahead and cut this down to 8 inches by 8 inches that we need for our 6 by 6 box. So here is my piece of acetate that I've cut down to 8 inches by 8 inches. You will need your scoreboard again and your bone folder. So with this in our scoreboard, we are just going to score at 1 inch on all 4 sides. You do want to make sure that you hold this in place because the acetate does have a tendency to shift around. So I scored at 1 inch. I'm going to rotate it. Score it again at 1 inches. Rotate. Score at 1 inch. Rotate one last time, and then score at 1 inch. So I hope you guys can see those score lines. Now, just like with any box, we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish. And grab myself a pair of scissors, and I'm just going to, the very slightest angle cut or miter cut into that first full square, and then I'm going to rotate it can do the opposite corner. Just like that. I hope you guys can see that. So you want to do that all the way around all 4 sides. So here is your lid. Just kind of shape it back into a square or a rectangle, whatever shape box that you're creating. So it'll look something like that. And here's the bottom of the box that we created earlier. And this lid just fits right inside like that. And normally what I do to close it up is I'll grab some seam binding, wrap it around, and make a bow. Now, when you use heavier cardstock for your bottom, it does have a tendency to crack. So I normally cover the sides of the box in some sort of decorative paper. You could also use washi tape to cover like a thin amount at the top. It gives it a really cute little accent, but that's pretty much it. And this way you can create custom boxes for any of the items that you want to put in gifts, or if you have any items that you're selling, maybe just for a good presentation. So if you guys have any questions, please make sure to put them down in the comments below. I hope this was helpful and you guys go ahead and give this a try. These are super fun to make, and just give any of your projects that extra little something. So thank you guys so much for watching. So go ahead and give these a try. Anna, I hope this tutorial was helpful, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic week so far, and I will see you guys really soon in another video. Bye everyone.